NHRA today. Drag racers and Indy drivers duel on the diamond. Making some dough with Pro Bike's Prince of Pizza. Northwest Bracketeers have a wild time at Woodburn. And the Alki crew who create classy glass. From the Pioneer Electronics Keystone Nationals at Maple Grove Raceway, these stories and more on this edition of NHRA Today. One year ago at the Keystone Nationals, the NHRA record book ceased to exist because in one 24-hour period, all three professional ET marks were eclipsed. First, Scott Jeffrey rode his pro stocker into the unknown territory of the 7.0s during qualifying. And then moments later, Corey McClanathan and the Mac Attack became the first top fuel team to dip under the 480 barrier. Not to be outdone, Cruz Padragon upped the funny car ante with a pair of 507s in the first round and then again in the final. Will history repeat itself? We'll soon see. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of NHRA Today. I'm Steve Evans. I think that I shall never see a supercharger as lovely as a tree. No, that's not the poem you learned in high school English, but my version is darned accurate. Maple Grove is surrounded by trees, and they provide Mother Nature's horsepower additive oxygen. I'm told that a year ago, conditions here were equal to 800 feet below sea level. If we get a repeat of that, stand back. We could see 460s in top fuel. We could see the 5- and 6-second barriers broken in funny car and pro stock. We'll talk to some experts about that a bit later, but right now, let's find out what's hot. Some interesting changes are coming to the NHRA rulebook for 1994. For example, carbon fiber or Kevlar valve covers, which have been allowed in top fuel, will now be permitted on funny cars as well. The floppers will also be required to install body burst panels to minimize damage from blower explosions. All top fuel cars will be required to run skid plates on lower frame rails, and taking a lesson from Corey Mack's Rockingham crash, dry sump tanks must be mounted inside the frame rails to minimize damage. No decision has been made on mandating the use of engine diaper systems, but approval is expected before the start of the 94 season. And that's what's hot. Since Corey McClanathan's record-setting blast a year ago, only 4 drivers, Eddie Hill, Kenny Bernstein, Ed McCullough, and Joe Amato, have run in the 470s. Will that change here?
If 470s can be run, this is definitely one of the places that we could do it, and hopefully somewhere around a 77 or 79.
Well, I'll tell you, if the air stays good, we're going to go plenty fast. I think you'll see some 470s in these top fuelers without a problem.
Oh, I think you can see the quickest top fuel field you ever see.
With a low of?
477, 476 maybe.
Well, all of that weather the racers love at the track was missing last Thursday night when the NHRA team was scheduled to take part in a charity softball game. Thousands of racing fans braved the elements to attend the Rick Mears Night of Champions at Reading Municipal Stadium, where the heroes of NHRA faced off against the stars of Indy cars. Both teams were looking forward to the confrontation.
I haven't had any softball experience, and my coach right here is going to let us win. He's already told us.
I'm tired, worn out, and I'm old. Other than that, everything's great.
So I never held a bat in my life, so.
These guys are just totally too cute for me. And I just found out that Sullivan makes more in a day than I make in 20 years.
And these guys don't stand a chance because it's raining out. They don't run in the wet. We do.
The event, which benefited Midwest flood victims, offered the fans the opportunity to meet their heroes close up.
I just got Al Unser Jr.'s autograph.
Once the pregame ceremonies concluded and the teams were introduced, it was time to play ball. And throwing out the first pitch, Darrell Gwynn. Miraculously, the skies dried up and the drag racers leaped into a 3-0 lead on the heels of a John Force home run off of Tony Bettenhausen.
Bettenhausen pitching made me mad, called me an old man. I think he's right, but gave me enough energy to shoot one at him.
The Indy gang closed to within 1 run by the bottom of the 5th inning, but a 3-run burst by the drag racers, including a Pat Austin homer, put the game out of reach.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that. You know, Kenny, I've been standing back on the plate, and Kenny said, I told him, I said, he's pitching it too low. I got to step for it. And he said, step up forward, and I never even thought of that. That's good advice, and it worked.
Also joining in the home run derby were Kenny Koretsky and Richard Hartman, who hit back-to-back shots in the bottom of the seventh.
Seemed like the only thing to do was hit it out. Both of us could do it.
Great job.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. We had to hit a home run on that one.
The NHRA squad also started in the field with several brilliant defensive plays that stifled the IndyCar Challenge. And although the rains returned in the closing innings, a game-ending double play left the drag racers undefeated in Reading. The final score, NHRA 8, IndyCar 3. You know, over the past year, the fuel coupes have really been flying. And in fact, some drivers, and more importantly their crew chiefs, are even talking about the possibility of the class's first 4.
I expect some low 5.0s. I don't know if you'll see anybody break into the 4s. I think we'll save that for Dallas.
504, 505, maybe lower than that.
Well, the conditions looking like they are at cool temperatures, and as good as this racetrack is, I'd say that the national record's probably going to fall here this weekend.
Torrid performance may be on tap, but hopefully not the kind we saw here 6 years ago when Kenny Bernstein blazed the Maple Grove quarter mile in a totally different way.
In the 1987 Keystones, that was a tough one. We made a qualifying run and the car lost a rod out the side and just erupted into a ball of flame. And it immediately just blew out the rear tires and you just became a rider. And I remember you couldn't see anything and I had the brakes on, but there was nothing you were doing. And I was just going down the racetrack and I knew I was going to be in serious trouble. And all I could keep thinking was, I hope it doesn't hit something solid. But the real sensational thing of the whole program was the team, Dale Armstrong and the Budweiser King team, took that car using the same chassis with a new body on it, new motor, new everything, and we didn't win that day, but we went to the semifinals, but we did clinch the world championship, so it was a great comeback.
Like all funny car drivers, Kenny Bernstein knew that fire is part of the game, but there's one current plastic fantastic driver who's looking at a high-tech way to reduce the risk, as we learn in this week's Fast Fact with Frank Hawley.
One of the hazards of racing a top fuel dragster or a fuel funny car is that, as we all know, every once in a while you're going to have an engine fire. A connecting rod may break, put a hole in the block, and that hot oil gets out on the headers, and then you've got a real mess. The type of car you really don't want to be in a fire is a funny car because, of course, here's the engine, and right back there's the driver. Well, one of the problems is as that oil comes out in the funny car is it coats the inside of the body and then sets the body on fire. That's a real problem. One of the drivers that's had more than his share of funny car fires is Gordon Mineo. Well, necessity being the mother of invention, Gordon has come up with a new product he calls Flash Coat. He coats the inside of a funny car body with it and says that it prevents the body from catching on fire if they have an engine fire going down the racetrack. Gordon tells me it works very good in the lab, but he really doesn't want to test it out on the racetrack.
Since 1 year ago here, Warren Johnson has lowered the Pro Stock national record to nearly 6 seconds. So we took an informal survey as to whether that magic mark might be broken here.
It's cool here like it was last year, and I think you'll probably see Warren go out there and run another 6 seconds.
If anybody goes in the 6s, it'll be WJ or Jeffrey on one of the two.
Also competing this weekend are the Pro Stock bikes, their first ever appearance here. And one of the leading riders, as Dave McClellan tells us, is a veteran from just across the state line in New Jersey.
I keep telling myself that the only way for me to get on top again is to keep most of my destiny in my own hands.
The same hands that control the destiny of the Kendall Suzuki have helped mold the lives of the family and friends of John Mafaro. But these creations pale in comparison to an Angelo's Pizzeria pizza.
My dad, we started this in 1963. It's a family-owned business that we've had for 30 years. We have our homemade lasagna, we have homemade meatballs, baked ziti, we have all good fine Italian food, plus our pizzas. The oven that you see behind me is older than me. I'm actually an absentee boss here. You know, I'm so involved with the motorcycle. My mom takes care of the business here while I'm away.
During the rare times Pizza John isn't taking care of business on the drag strip or in the pizzeria, destiny takes him to rural Sussex County, New Jersey.
The farm is like a dream come true, something I always wanted to do, like winning a championship. When I'm not working on the dyno or working on pizza trucks, I'm cutting grass. I got 1,500 Christmas trees growing. I have a tree farm. It's an M&M Ranch. That's my mother's initials. My mom lives up in the front, and Liz and Maria and myself live in the back. The other night I drove in the driveway and I stopped. You know, it's like I'm all stressed out, and there's an owl sitting on a fence. I just stopped the truck and I'm looking, and here's this owl just looking, shaking his head both ways. And that's when I'm a lucky guy to have that. I get on the tractor and I think about new things I want to try on the bike, and it's peaceful.
Whatever Pizza John does on the bike, he does for his 3 biggest fans.
Max is 5 years old. More people come to see Max than my motorcycle. A fellow from Wayne County brings him bones every race. I mean, Max has his own fan club, and Liz has her own fan club. Liz has been drag racing longer than me, so we're a unique group, believe me. And now we have the new addition, Maria, and she's gonna have her own fan club before long. I have my own, what I call my own little dog and pony show without the horse.
Actually, Pizza John's show features 240 horses. And although 1993 has not produced the success this cast is accustomed to, John sees a return to his championship form his way.
I'm what you call a thick-headed Italian. Well, my bikes are all hand-built, all magnesium, all titanium. Every piece on my bike is handmade. 1989, my dad had passed away before I got my championship trophy, which my dad told me I could never do it. That was a dream come true. I'm keeping my head up and my chin up and trying to do the best I can for Kendall. You know, they've put a lot of faith in me this year, and I want to get in the winner's circle this year. Right now, the next guy, if a new guy wins the race, he's right up there in the hunt. I hope it's me.
The fastest show on earth premiered on Broadway with the arrival of drag racers Ed McCullough and Cruz Pedregon outside the McDonald's restaurant on Times Square.
Sir, you're in illegal park. Do you have a license for that?
Well, officer, we're just passing through here, and it's not going to take us very long to go through.
It takes a lot to grab the attention of New Yorkers, and an estimated 4,000 of them got Ace and Cruz to autograph pictures of the McDonald's drag racing team.
They say if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, so here we are.
The way the taxi guys drive, you know, they're out of control, and they race from light to light, try to hole shot each other, so it's a natural to have drag racing here in New York.
I'm very sorry to say top alcohol funny car racer Al DiPozzo died this past Thursday as a result of injuries suffered in a crash at Bowling Green, Kentucky, late August. He contributed greatly to the sport. He truly will be missed. Welcome back to Maple Grove. Many of the sportsman cars competing at the Pioneer Electronics Keystone Nationals will be right back here in just 2 weeks for the Division I Bracket Championship. Last weekend, it was Division VI's turn, and Bob Fry made yet another trek to the Northwest.
The largest number to ever compete in the Division VI Firestone TNNET tournament jammed at Woodburn Drag Strip. 540 races in all. Now, one of those racing for the Woodburn team was Doc Lavender in the sportsman class. Doc may be the only person in America campaigning a 1935 Nash, but it's not the car that's the story here, it's the driver. Doc Lavender's story is one of determination against all odds.
I guess it goes back to my dad and him always telling me that I could do whatever I wanted. I just had to figure out how. I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I was 3. So I've been in a wheelchair 31 years. So you get used to it. I think what I'm trying to do, bottom line, is promote ability in disability.
Over the span of his racing career, Doc has won 3 weekly bracket races at Woodburn, where he's currently number 8 in points. And Lavender scored an impressive win at the Good Guys Hot Rod event at Sears Point last year. Not bad for a car that was once a chicken coop.
When he drug this car home, it was a basket case. There was nothing front to back except rust, chicken stuff, feathers. All the parts, or even the fenders and stuff, were inside, and the chickens had overtaken it.
Most people didn't believe I did. They laughed at me quite a bit when I said this was going to be my race car, but they don't laugh now.
The last half a second that he has gotten out of it, he's done it out of his own driving ability. We've made no adjustments to speak of since that very first couple weekends out.
Doc likes the fact that when he comes to the track, he's treated like any other racer.
That's why I like drag racing, because I'm an equal. Ask any of the racers out here. I'm as equal as any of them. Sometimes I make people uncomfortable, I think. Once they get to know me, they know that I'm just another guy that likes to race. likes to go fast, you know.
When Doc's not racing, he's a motivational speaker. And of course, he uses his experiences at the track in his talks. Lavender hopes to get more sponsorship so he can pour more to help get his message out to more people. Even though Doc went out early at this event, he stayed to help cheer on his teammates. The sportsman final was won by another old car, not quite as old as Doc's, as Derek Johnstone in the near lane piloted his 1949 Chevy station wagon to victory.
Decided to run it right through. I couldn't see the other car. A real close final, though every race was close today.
Now here are the rest of the winners from Division 6. For NHRA Today, I'm Bob Fry.
Who's hot in the world of drag racing? You just met Doc Lavender in Bob Fry's Sportsman Report. The person who has been at Doc's side throughout his racing career has been Judy Hinkleman. Her devotion to Doc's racing activities has been a major contribution in helping him achieve a lifelong dream.
People with disabilities are just like anybody else on the drag strip. It's just racer against racer, car against car, and he's just as competitive as any of them.
You know, after hearing all of the predictions from the pros, I might just head on over to Atlantic City and make a small bet on all of those records falling this weekend. And while I'm there, I'm sure I will enjoy the handiwork of a certain New Jersey racing family.
In the world of drag racing, Bozzelli may not be a household name, but the alcohol dragster team from New Jersey did finish second in Division 1 last year.
I figured my son and I, we make a good team, and he's a good driver.
30-year-old Cliff, who's been driving the race car for 6 seasons, took over those duties from Dad with relative ease.
When I got in the car and made my first license runs, I felt like, you know, it was made for me almost, you know what I mean? But it was a neat transition from finally watching it go down, getting into it, and making a blast. It's pretty neat.
Besides racing, the father and son duo also worked side by side at the family business, Mainland Glass Company near Atlantic City.
This is our 25th year, and we've done very well. Do all phases of glass work, and do a lot of mirrors. We used to do mirrors like so many of them a week, different installations in homes, and then when the casinos came in, we really started to blossom.
The casinos that adorn the boardwalk glisten like gemstones, and virtually all of them have been brought to life by the artistry involved in Cliff and Rich's craft.
Because we do metal work anyhow, and we have the sheet metal shop, we got involved with doing brass, and we make the cages where they pass the chips and the chip banks, and it's really, really nice because you get to do some really beautiful things.
A project they are particularly proud of is the atrium inside Trop World Casino and Hotel.
It really came out very nice. And we also just completed the casino area, columns with beveled mirrors and lights, and some brass trim that went on those also.
Aside from working and racing together, Cliff found time to restore this 1973 Dodge Challenger. And the entire family spends time on their boat, appropriately named Reflections, enjoying the breathtaking view of the Atlantic coastal skyline.
I feel as I get older, our relationship's just growing and getting better and better. I love being with him and being at the races with him, and I just think it's the greatest.
He's a good boy. Yeah, he really is. We have a lot of fun together.
For all of us here at NHRA Today, I'm Steve Evans, and we'll see you then here on TNN.
NHRA Today is a presentation of Diamond B Sports.